I'd like to show you 3 tips that you can use to make your forms look better. First tip is lead with your eyes. During your pumse, during your form, you want to start each movement with your head and your eyes leading the direction you're going towards. For example, when I begin my form, if I'm going to my left, my head and eyes go first, then my hand follows. When I turn and rotate, my eyes lead, then my body follows. So leading with your head allows your form to look cleaner and stronger and more purposeful. If you don't know where to look, check with your instructors. There are times when you're asked to look straight versus going towards the next movement. For example, in some movement, my eyes will go straight. There are some when I will turn and lead my movement with my head and eyes. So be sure to always lead when you do your form with your head and with your eyes. So the tip is called set before you go. Before you perform a technique, show the setup. How did we get to that point of doing a low block? So we start by setting it up and then completing it. So doing your form, before you go, show the setup before the finish. So when I'm doing a walking stand low block, I will show my setup before I even go. When I rotate, when I turn, I'll show my setup before I go. When I step and punch, I'll show my setup before I go. So set before you go. Set, this is my setting hand, before you go. Set before you go. Set before you go. Again, before you go, set. Set, go. Set, go. Set, go. Set, go. By setting each move before you do it, your form will look much more powerful, and it shows that you have an understanding of the technique and where it begins before it ends. My next tip is focus on your secondary hand. Meaning, when you perform a technique, a singular technique with your upper body or with your hand, most students will focus on the primary hand, the low block hand in this case. However, we also want to emphasize the secondary hand's motion or counter motion. By doing both and emphasize this pulling motion, you will actually highlight the strength on the lead arm or the primary arm. So when I go for a high block, as an example, this is a one-handed motion. If I can chamber and then pull back, counter react to this primary motion, I can have a better technique that is more powerful. So secondary hand, pull back. It usually has the opposite job of the primary hand. If this one goes down, this one's go up. If this one's going out, the other one's going in. So the secondary hand, by focusing on that, you can make your primary technique even stronger. Make sure it's nice and clean. Pull back to the side, not drop down, not dangling down, or worse, not moving at all. We always want to have a counter movement on your secondary hand when performing a technique on your primary hand. So when I do a knife hand now doing strike or block, my secondary hand here pulls back. So be sure to not neglect secondary hand in your form.